up, everybody? This is Chad Trease with Secret Sauce Roadshow. Got a special guest today, my boss, Todd Scrima, all the way from California.
Yeah.
Glad you're here, man.
Thanks, buddy.
We are driving to lunch. We just got done filming a couple podcasts, and why not just 3X this thing,
That's right.
And do a little roadshow interview. So we haven't actually, at the moment of filming this, our first one hasn't officially dropped. So I like to start this off by setting the mood, getting the vibe right. So I always like to start with getting, from you, what song puts you in like the best mood? If you're ever in a funk, what song gets you out of it?
So I actually got this hack from Robin Lavassa, our head of sales, and she has several songs that inspire her on a playlist. And so she told me that a couple years ago. So I'm like, what are the most inspiring songs?
So you've done some research. You already put some work into this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've actually never seen the movie from The Greatest Showman.
It's a great movie.
I'd never
Hugh
saw
Grant?
it. Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
So
not Hugh Grant.
But
yeah, Hugh Jackman.
One of the title songs is called "This Is Me," and if you've never watched it, you got to watch the YouTube. They kind of do this like when they're rehearsed the first time they ever rehearse the song, and Hugh Jackman's there.
Okay.
The lead singer starts, and she's like very uncomfortable singing, hasn't found her voice for the part yet, but the song is about her overcoming, and it's just a beautiful tune. But if you watch the clip of how they made it the first time they ever sing it, it'll bring tears to your eyes every time I've watched it.
All right.
And it's just very inspiring.
This Is Me. From The Greatest Showman soundtrack. Here it is. Starts a little soft.
Starts soft and then it builds and builds.
I am not a stranger to the dark.
How is this like your go-to song, but you've never even watched the movie?
I don't watch much movies.
Yeah, you don't watch the
movie. It's on the list.
Okay. We're gonna listen to a little clip here. Set the vibe, and then I'm gonna ask you some questions.
But I won't let them break me down to dust.
I've never been to Kansas City, so I'm looking around. What's it like here?
We're in the suburbs right now, so you've never been like through downtown Kansas City? Yeah, here we go. Oh, I do know this song. I have some, but it's been a while. I can see how this would be.
I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come.
All right. Okay.
And I'm marching on to the beat.
That's a good one. Check it out, guys. This Is Me from The Greatest Showman soundtrack. If you're in a bad mood, cue that one up.
It's so good. So
All right.
I got about 10 of those songs
on the playlist. All right, I'm going to need the list later.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now I just want to ask you some questions.
Okay.
What's the best advice you've ever been given in your life?
Do the work first, feel second.
Who gave it to you?
My dad.
A lot of your lessons were dad.
Yeah. So he ran a distribution company, and he would start on the phones at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he wouldn't end until 10, and he'd just call every day of my life except for Sundays. Every day.
Wow.
So when I see people and they can't make their 30 calls a day, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, that's what my dad did. That's what I did. It's what makes you successful.
I know I don't make sense to you because I fall strictly in that category, Todd. It's tough. It's tough for me to make 30 phone calls. I'm a face-to-face guy.
Well, I am too. So I had to learn that. So much better for me to do face-to-face. Much easier. It took me a couple years to really get more comfortable with it. But you learn little tricks like I'm gonna take a risk here on your podcast. So a lot of my job now is recruiting talent, and so this guy answers the phone. I didn't know a lot about him. This is a couple weeks ago, and he just kind of talked to me. His opening comments, like literally first 5 seconds, was a little bit like a truck driver.
Okay.
And so I kind of
like no filter.
Yeah. And so I just kind of unfiltered back to him, and he laughed. And I won't tell you what I said because I used some cuss words. which I normally wouldn't do.
You can do that on this podcast.
Okay,
Yeah.
but then like instantly we had connection. He's like, "Oh, this CEO,
this is my people.
this is my person."
Yeah.
You know? And when I talked about growing up on a farm, and he's like, "I grew up on a farm too." You know, we talked about the farm life and how we got into business, and you know, we're 8 minutes in and we're having a ball. So you kind of learn how to. There's a guy that does business with Summit in Tennessee. Kid's 23 years old.
You talking about Chris? Clock?
No. It was one of his realtors.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And the kid just makes 300 calls a day, every day. And made $1.4 million last year.
There's a realtor here in Kansas City, and I'm sure a lot of people know. Like, I automatically think of Brian Huff, who's one of the top realtors in all of Kansas City, and he is just dedicated to making calls. Like, his wife doesn't disrupt him during that time, and he's just a machine, and his numbers tell the tale.
If you guys study sales like I have for 40 years, that story repeats itself over and over again with the top producers.
Yeah, no doubt.
They have the biggest accounts. They're the best on the phone. They're the best in person. Their presentation skills are great. All that's true, but then they actually apply it every single day using a certain metric that makes sense to them.
Well, what's crazy though is that even if you are not the best on the phone, if you're not the most polished, if you don't have all the best material, most prepared, if you're making 30, 40 calls a day, you're going to win.
Yeah.
You're going to win because nobody else is, right? Your numbers are just going to be that much better. All right. Tell me again, what was the advice? Do the work
first, feel second.
Feel second.
But that's very simple, but if you think about it, how many people do you run into and they're like, well, I had to take the kids to school. I had a hangnail. I had to meet up with my boys for coffee.
I don't have the right script yet.
I don't have the right
offer.
script, right? Yeah, all the things, and those are all feelings, right? If you didn't have a script, you could Google scripts on ChatGPT and have 10 of them in about 10 seconds. So, all those are just feelings of saying, now I'm giving myself permission not to do the hard stuff, and the hard stuff is where the juicy stuff's at.
That's right. I love it. Just a frame of reference here, because I just assumed everybody knows who Todd is, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this probably don't. He is my boss. He's also my coach, a huge mentor of mine. What I really want to make clear is that he has made it. He does not need to work another day in his life. I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable here, but we also talk about money, and we're very upfront about it. And Todd could retire, sail off into the sunset, and you're sitting here with me in my Jeep driving to lunch to talk to some realtors. We did the podcast this morning. Like, you love it.
Yes.
Right?
Well, okay, so a couple reference points on that. I'm 53 years old. I have some buddies that, matter of fact, I have a guy in my men's group I just started. He just sold his last piece of property. He's a commercial developer and made $18 million on this one property. And he was sitting in my living room and he's like, I could use some help, boys. And we're like, dude, you just, like, what do you need help with? He's 63 and he just got remarried to a lovely woman, lives 3 doors down from me. And he's like, I'm bored as hell. I'm like, what do you mean? He says, I don't know what to do with my time.
Yeah.
I said, well, what, so I've had people that retire, quote unquote, and you don't want to retire and give up your passions. So if you love doing something, do it, keep doing it. If you don't love doing something, find a way that would make you love it.
Or find something else you love.
Or find something else you love.
There's no point going through life doing some shit you don't love.
No. And then on the money issue, I remember, I love telling this story because I think it can resonate with some people. In our company, we do these personal budgets, and it tells us, hey, we set a number and say, I'm going to save this much. So the first time ever I did the personal budget, I remember it was a Saturday. I was at home in my home office at this beautiful home I just bought. I'm like 25, 26 years old, and I saved $5,000 on my personal budget. So I was like, hey, how much does that turn? If I just like I'm just getting good at my craft. I'm nowhere close to where I'm gonna be. But if I just save $5,000 a month for 30 years, how much money is that? So I did all the math, and now you can just ask ChatGPT and it'll give you that answer. But I had to actually use a finance calculator and all that. So it was $8.6 million. I thought I did the math wrong. So I redid it like 5 times. And no, that's time value money.
Right.
So the reason I tell you that story is, we talk about income and providing for your family, and all that's great. But it's a lot easier to save 5 or 8 or 10 grand a month when you're making 40, 50, 60 grand a month.
Right.
And you can still do all the fun stuff. You and I have had a lot of these conversations. You've done a really good job saving and investing, and you're not on easy street, but you're a very disciplined saver. And you actually kind of cracked me up on the last coaching call. You're like, Todd, what if I just want to spend it all? I don't want to give my kids anything.
I want to give them something, but I don't want to set them up to become trust fund kids and leave them with. I've been thinking about this a lot, so thanks for bringing that up. But yes, and I know it does crack me up too, because like when I say it out loud, it sounds really funny. I do want to leave them something, but I don't want to leave them so much, right, that they have a trust fund that they don't go out and make something of themselves. That that they feel like they're born on third base.
Right.
And so it's that interesting, like, in between, like, gray area, where it's like, if I keep going at the rate that I'm going, and don't go have some fun and spend it, I want to have fun with my kids while I'm here, right? So like some really good family experiences that may decrease their inheritance a little bit, but we got to spend that together versus them get, tens of millions of dollars, and we didn't have fun. Like, we didn't have the fun we could have together.
Well, I think you're doing both now, and that's what I think you should do. So you can go overboard on all that stuff. I get it, but I just want to make the point that when people have a hard time saving, not always, but sometimes they're just overspending. But oftentimes they're just not making enough money. And 100 or 200 grand a year used to be a lot of money, 30 years ago, and it's just not anymore. I mean, I'm here, like, I came up I'm partially on vacation, so my girlfriend's 2 sisters live 2.5 hours from here in Joplin, Missouri. So we're visiting them. I go to the store each night to make dinner. First of all, the one time we went out to dinner, there was only 8 of us, and it was like $250.
Right.
And
that's in Joplin. Like, I'm not nothing negative about Joplin, but it would be more here.
Yeah.
It would be more in California.
Yeah.
Right?
100% it would. So then I go to the grocery store, and we had 16 people over for dinner last night, and I went to two grocery trips, and it was $150, $250, $350. So my point is that and we had chicken and mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
It's not like it's lobster. So I just, part of the way you combat those things is make more money. And you got to budget as well, but it's not always about budgeting, is my point.
That has always been, the personal budget thing was new to me when I came. My parents were very good talking to me about money. I still remember the compound interest conversation with my mom when I was like 12 years old. And it stuck with me. They were like, had done the Dave Ramsey stuff, and like she did an exercise with me with a calculator of compound interest and like how many millions things would turn into if I just started saving a little bit early on in life. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for doing that. Have that conversation with your kids if you're not having it, because nobody talks about that stuff. But so then I get into personal budget a couple years ago when I joined Summit, and it was the first time anybody had asked me, like, oh, you got to show all your financials, and I'm like, this is kind of weird, right? But I just remember thinking, and this way my brain works is like, yes, I understand I need to be diligent about saving and all of those things, but the biggest way that you can help me with coaching is help me make more money rather than tell me, okay, you need to cut out this expense. But that's just the way I'm wired, and that's not everybody. So that's the language that it needed for me to click. It was like, okay, I am careful about it. I'm not like completely flippant with money, but my solution to that is, okay, I need to get creative and figure out how I can go make more money rather than scrimp on it.
Yeah, it's offense and defense is the simple way I think about it. So
Right.
you can't win football game just all offense.
Right.
It's got to be a great offense and a great defense, and that's what works in anything if you think about it. And then the other thing that one of the things that we're talking about, like, some people don't want to talk about money. I was talking to one of my managers last week, and he's like, well, this other manager I don't think can live on their income, so I want to pay him more money. I said, well, he's under his metrics, so tell him to hit his metrics, and then he'll make more money.
Right. It's not your
And he's
responsibility
kind
to
of
make
looked
that
at me
up.
weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, he accepted the job with the metrics, and then he didn't hit the metrics, and you want to pay him more money.
Yeah,
I
it's
said,
not
"It
your
doesn't
fault
work
he's
that
not
way."
living, below his, yeah. I love the fact this is every time that I have a conversation with you, I've asked you one question, and we've been spitballing for 15 minutes that just like has turned into without any other questions. So, but I know this is just like loaded with value. And we're pulling into the restaurant, and we've got some people that we're meeting. So I'm gonna ask you one last question, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up. If you were to go, if you fall on hard times, and I mean, not financially, that's probably not gonna happen, but if you fall on hard times where you need to get like out of a rut, what would be the advice you would give your future self? What directions would you give yourself?
Gratitude always helped me. So I had 2 years straight, I wrote in a gratitude journal every day of my life.
People think that's like, there's people that just, they think, oh, that's so hokey or whatever. But man, we do every Thursday. We start our call with gratitude. Everybody goes around, and it just automatically like resets your compass.
Just feel better. And like, we're in charge of our emotions. No one else controls them. So you have to train your emotions. So that's what that helps with is, some people didn't get to wake up today. I did. Some people woke up without a right arm. I got my right arm, right? And it sounds silly. Green grass. Like,
We can see.
I went in my backyard last week and took a picture of this beautiful blooming bush. And I would have never done that 10 years ago. I wouldn't even have thought of it. But the sun was coming up in this bush. I'm like, that's some cool stuff. Those flowers are pretty, That sounds silly, but it's like, feeling that all the time, to me, is one of the goals of life.
I love that. I've been, you mentioned it earlier on our other podcast, but like kids have that like childlike wonder
Yes.
that we lose as adults. And gratitude for me has let me tap back into that, like approaching life with a sense of wonder for things.
Yes.
I'm actually like outlining a book that I think would be really cool. It's the concept of wonderful having lost its actual definition.
Yes.
Because wonderful is like amazing now, right?
Yes.
But really, what is wonderful? It should be full of wonder, right? And so I think we need to reclaim the word.
I totally agree.
Right? Wonderful needs to be full of wonder, and that's the best possible way to go through life. And if you're in a funk, sorry, I didn't mean to steal your spotlight.
Yeah.
Because gratitude is that. For me,
Yes.
it's a piece of it. But, man, I love you. Thank
Love
you,
you
my
too,
man.
brother. Thank you.
Let's go
Thank
get
you,
some
guys.
lunch.
Thanks for listening
Todd
to us
Scrima,
babble.
everybody. Go check his podcast out.
Bye,
See you
guys.
next time.
I'm so tired of playing with this bone.